Every year, we see at least one TV that nails a couple of fundamentals while striking out on the rest. Panasonic's W70B is that TV for 2025. It's positioned as an affordable, no-frills LED set that favors accuracy and simplicity over headline specs. There is no mini LED array or local dimming engine. There is no 120Hz panel, no variable refresh rate, and no HDMI 2.1 bandwidth. On paper, that sounds underpowered next to value leaders that cram in more hardware and gaming features at similar prices. But numbers don't always tell the whole story. Is this one of those times? Hi, I'm Evan from Ratings.com. We tested the 65-inch Panasonic W70B, and our results apply to all sizes. Does this TV have an audience, or should most of you leave it on the shelf? HDR brightness is where you need to set expectations. In HDR, the W70B is dim. Peak brightness hovers around the high 200 nit range, and real scene HDR shots land around the mid-200s. So specular highlights never quite approach the kind of wow you get from a brighter LED set or any modern OLED. Even in game mode, it only creeps a bit higher, which still is nowhere near impactful HDR. If you plan to watch a lot of HDR blockbusters or play games in HDR, this panel's light output will underwhelm, and you should look elsewhere. Brightness alone doesn't guarantee good HDR, so we also look at tone mapping accuracy. The W70B's PQ EOTF tracking is serviceable rather than great. Very dark details are raised due to the TV's low contrast ratio and lack of local dimming, but at least midtones are displayed accurately. Speaking of contrast, despite using a VA panel, native contrast is modest for the class, and there's no local dimming to deepen blacks in mixed scenes. In darkroom viewing, shadowed areas tend to look washed out next to bright UI elements or subtitles. Black uniformity itself is only decent, with a visible cloudiness throughout the screen on near black slides, so letterbox bars are not as clean as we would like. However, there is a silver lining. Unlike many VA sets whose black levels wash out heavily in ambient light, the W70B's blacks hold their ground surprisingly well as you raise the room's ambient light level. It means shadow detail does not immediately turn gray when you turn on a lamp. Now, what if you prefer to watch SDR content in a brighter room? The TV is decidedly more comfortable in SDR rather than HDR, but here, overall brightness is still limited. Typical real scene SDR brightness sits in the mid-200 nit range. That's fine for late evening viewing and dark rooms, but it won't cut through daytime glare. If your living room sees a lot of sun, you'll be riding the backlight at the max and wishing for more. Plus, the W70B compounds the problem with poor reflection handling. The screen reflects a lot of light and even exhibits diffraction artifacts due to highlights being warped by the panel. So windows and lamps are pretty distracting. This is a TV that really prefers a controlled light environment, although its contrast isn't good enough to impress in those environments either. Basically, this TV doesn't look good in any context. In HDR, color volume is constrained by the panel's low peak brightness and mediocre contrast. Dark tones are weak, and bright saturated hues lack the luminance to really pop. Its HDR accuracy is only okay out of the box. The TV is too blue, and tone mapping errors are everywhere. SDR is a different story. Out-of-the-box SDR accuracy is a genuine strength. Grayscale tracks the target very well, gamma is on point, and color errors are almost non-existent. That's lucky, since the TV only comes with a basic 1-point white balance control, so calibration can't improve much. Good thing it's so accurate. That said, panel variants can impact this, so pray that your unit is as accurate as ours. Let's talk about viewing angles. For a VA panel, the W70B's color and hue stability off-axis are slightly better than average, but the brightness drops and black level raises at fairly small angles. If your seating wraps wide around the TV, viewers towards the sides will see a dimmer, lower contrast image. Keep your main seats within a couple of cushions of center, if you can. Motion handling is one of the W70B's weak points. The panel is only 60 Hz, and pixel transitions in game mode are slow enough that fast pans, camera sweeps, and fast actions show noticeable blur. This is not the TV for competitive gamers who are sensitive to blur trails. At least input lag is low at 60 Hz, so controls feel pretty responsive in casual play. There is no HDMI 2.1, no VRR, and no 4K at 120 Hz. If you own a PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X and want to take advantage of high refresh modes, this is not the right display. If your gaming diet is single-player adventure titles at 60 Hz, the W70B's low latency will feel snappy enough, but the slow pixel response means that you will still see motion blur during fast action. We touched on the TV's PQ EOTF tracking earlier, but as for the rest of the processing suite, its upscaling is pretty decent. Cable channels and 1080p Blu-rays look clean enough, even if fine details and text are a bit jagged. As for low-quality content smoothing, well, it doesn't really do any. There's a ton of macro blocking left in the feed, and none of the settings seem to do anything. Hey, at least there's no loss of fine details? Gradient handling is good, There's some noticeable banding in the bright reds and dark greens, but that's pretty much it. As for format support and connectivity, all 4 HDMI inputs are HDMI 2.0. There's eARC on one port and pass-through support for Dolby Atmos, Dolby True HD 7.1, and LPCM 7.1. However, there's no DTS pass-through. HDR formats include HDR10, and it can decode HDR10+, but it's not following the dynamic metadata, so you should think of it as a basic HDR10 display in practice. There's also no Dolby Vision. If you own a big Blu-ray library with DTS tracks or prefer Dolby Vision from streaming services, that's a limitation to consider. So you're not happy with the W70B and would like to see some alternatives. Let's dive into a few. The Hisense U6N, the TCL QM6K, and the Hisense U6N. Spoiler alert, they're all way better than the Panasonic. Hisense's U6N is the clear upgrade if you want real HDR punch and bright room muscle. It brings mini LED with local dimming, much higher SDR and HDR brightness, cleaner upscaling, and stronger gaming support including 4K at 144Hz and lower input lag. The W70B keeps an edge in simple, accurate SDR out of the box, but for mixed use in brighter spaces, the U6N is the better performer. TCL's QM6K adds mini LED, far higher peak brightness, and vastly better gaming options, like 4K at 144Hz and 1080p at 288Hz. Black levels and perceived contrast in real scenes are a big step up from the W70B, and daytime visibility is also stronger. The Panasonic still appeals if you value low-effort SDR accuracy in a dim room, but the QM6K is the more capable all-rounder. The U6N usually costs about the same, but adds local dimming and higher brightness, so letterbox bars look cleaner, and daytime sports pop more than on the W70B. Gaming is basic on both, but input lag is low either way. Choose the W70B only if SDR accuracy in a dark room matters more than HDR impact or bright room performance. The Panasonic W70B isn't trying to be everything to everyone. It does a few things well, but comes with clear limits. Still, in a darker room with SDR, it looks accurate and natural out of the box. For basic streaming and casual gaming, you can be happy with it, to a degree. But if you care about HDR impact, motion clarity, modern gaming features, or daytime viewing with minimal glare, you'll want to look elsewhere. It's not to say that no one should get the Panasonic. It's the type of TV that users who want a TV but don't really care about tech or features could be happy with. But if that's not you, step up to a brighter mini LED model and you'll get a much more versatile TV. So that's it for a review of the Panasonic W70B. What do you think? Are you looking for a basic bare-bones TV? Or would you rather shop for a model that does just a little bit more? Tell us in the comments. For now, I'm Evan with Ratings.com, where we help you find the best products for your needs. Take that again, actually. Yeah, I'm just gonna get a sip of water real quick. Got to disappear behind the TV. I can start streaming the script from here. Despite being speaking of contrast. Hey, speaking of contrast, despite